There's a mysterious phenomenon that unfolds for certain women at very specific turning points in their lives. They encounter something, a message, an image, a video that feels less like coincidence and more like being gently guided toward what their soul has been quietly seeking. If you've found yourself here, it's because something inside you has already shifted, and the outer world is now echoing that inner movement. This is not random chance. The psychologist Carl Jung described this as synchronicity, the meaningful intersection between internal transformation and external events. It's not superstition or luck. It's the psyche's way of orchestrating encounters that align your inner evolution with the outer world. What you're about to understand is why this moment is arriving for you and why it doesn't come for everyone. You're crossing a threshold, both psychological and energetic, one that Jung spent his lifetime mapping. It's the unseen architecture of transformation, the quiet, disorienting yet sacred passage that marks the beginning of a woman's most powerful phase. It often starts not with clarity but with confusion, solitude, and a haunting feeling that something larger than personal will is taking over. You might feel it in your body first, a constriction in your chest when you try to fit into roles that once felt natural, or a fatigue that no amount of rest seems to heal. Your body recognizes the truth before your mind does. It senses the tension between the identity you've been performing and the authenticity that's fighting to surface. Jung called this social mask the persona, the version of ourselves crafted to earn approval, safety, and belonging. But over time, what once protected you can become suffocating. For women reaching this stage, the mask no longer fits. It begins to choke rather than shield. Why now? Because the psyche operates according to its own rhythm, independent of age, logic, or social milestones. The self, as Jung described it, is the totality of your conscious and unconscious being. It matures not by years, but by readiness. Some women encounter this psychological awakening at 35, others not until 55. It happens when the hidden parts of you, the unlived dreams, suppressed emotions, and unspoken truths build enough pressure that the false structure can no longer contain them. What you are feeling is that structure cracking open. Jung spoke of symbolic death, the psychological disintegration that must precede genuine rebirth. This isn't poetic language, it's an exact description of what occurs when an outdated self begins to dissolve. You may find yourself withdrawing from social circles that once excited you. Conversations that once seemed vibrant now feel empty. Even maintaining certain relationships can feel like walking through molasses. This retreat isn't depression, though many mistake it for that. It's an instinctual withdrawal, an inward turning, so transformation can happen without interference. Solitude becomes essential, not optional. It is a protective cocoon for what's being reborn within you. Women who experience this shift differ from those still fully invested in collective definitions of success or identity. Deep within their unconscious, a readiness has been ripening for years, often unnoticed. You've felt different for a long time, but you've learned to disguise it, even from yourself. Now, the concealment has become unbearable. That's how true transformation begins, when hiding costs more than honesty, when the mask becomes heavier than the truth it covers. Perhaps you've sensed it, a strange feeling of being chosen, as though invisible forces have appointed you for something you never consciously agreed to. That isn't arrogance. It's the unmistakable signal of individuation, the process Jung described as the soul's journey towards psychological wholeness. From the depths of the collective unconscious, ancient archetypes begin to awaken, patterns older than your personal story. They rise at particular moments of development to guide you through the breakdown of the old and the birth of the authentic. You are not losing yourself. You are meeting the part of you that was waiting to live all along. For many women, the passage from one archetypal stage to another comes with extraordinary intensity, because it's not only a personal evolution, but also the reawakening of ancient feminine patterns that have long lain dormant. Before emergence comes stillness. Before strength comes emptiness. The desert you're walking through isn't barren. It's a hidden place of gestation. You may feel as though you're wandering through silence, unable to explain your disconnection to anyone. Friends ask what's wrong, and you have no answer because, on the surface, nothing is. Everything is simply different. The motivations that once drove you now fall flat. The rewards that once satisfied you now feel hollow. The older version of you keeps trying to return, but every attempt at revival feels more like dying. But what if the desert itself is the answer? What if this apparent void is actually a Womban unseen chamber where something new is being shaped in darkness, preparing to step into a light your mind can't yet comprehend? This is where the somatic dimension becomes vital. Jung understood that the body carries knowledge long before the conscious mind can name it. Women in this threshold often experience strange fatigue, disrupted sleep, hormonal imbalance, or a heaviness that medical tests fail to explain. These aren't psychosomatic in the dismissive sense. They are the body's truthful expression of what the mind has yet to acknowledge. Your body is rejecting the lie of the false self before your thoughts are ready to agree. The wisdom is not in your intellect. It's in your cells, your breath, your gut. The body's intelligence recognizes that continuing down the same path would mean a deeper kind of death than the one you're trying to avoid.
As your tolerance for falseness diminishes, your discernment sharpens. You can now feel dishonesty in a room before a single word is spoken. You pick up on the hidden motives, the tension behind polite smiles, the emptiness inside performative emotion. This isn't cynicism or paranoia. It's the awakening of what Jung called the intuitive function, one of the 4 foundational psychological capacities. When it matures, it allows direct perception of underlying truths that others can't yet see. You are no longer just hearing language. You are reading energy. You are sensing essence, not merely appearance. This can make social interaction draining because you now see how much of human communication is a theater of pretense. An archetypal transformation is underway, one that Jung and later depth psychologists described through the evolution of the feminine psyche. It's the movement from what they called the Maiden archetype to the queen or wise woman. This shift isn't about age or status. It's about initiation. The Maiden's energy seeks validation, belonging, and definition from outside sources. Her power is potential, nascent and unclaimed. Her identity forms through reflection in the eyes of others. The queen, however, draws authority from within. She no longer asks for permission or proof of worth. She carries self-knowledge like a crown she has earned through descent into her own depths. This transition is rarely graceful. It's a dismantling before it becomes sovereignty. Some women never cross it. They remain in the psychology of the maiden for a lifetime, forever performing, forever chasing affirmation, forever needing someone else to mirror their importance. But for those who endure the desert, a new order begins to emerge. What once felt like loss becomes liberation. The silence counts. The silence turns into guidance. The emptiness reveals itself as power. And the woman who returns is no longer seeking reflection. She is the mirror.
Some women are initiated into this descent much earlier, compelled by circumstance or summoned by something deep within that refuses to stay silent. If you're here now, it means you're in that descent. The ground beneath your old identity has fractured, and you're falling through unseen layers of yourself you never knew existed. This falling feels like death because in many ways, it is. The woman you used to be is dissolving so that the woman you truly are can finally breathe. The collective unconscious, that vast reservoir of inherited psychic material Carl Jung devoted his life to understanding, carries within it the memory and patterns of every woman who came before you. As you move toward individuation, toward wholeness, you begin to touch this deeper field of experience. You might sense the presence of women from your lineage, ancestors you've never met, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, women whose names have been forgotten, but whose essence endures. They are not ghosts in the supernatural sense, but living psychological patterns, archetypal echoes of feminine experience that awaken during moments of profound transformation. Your journey is not only personal, it is ancestral. Every conscious step you take toward authenticity heals something across generations, past and future. This is the essence of transgenerational healing within Jungian psychology. The understanding that certain wounds are not born in your lifetime, but are inherited, woven into family systems through emotional repression, survival patterns, and inherited expectations. When you break one of those patterns, when you refuse to reenact the dysfunctions passed down to you, when you choose awareness over repetition, you liberate not only yourself but every woman connected to you through blood and archetype. Your mother's unlived dreams, your grandmother's muted anger, your great-grandmother's silent endurance. All of these unspoken stories begin to resolve through your willingness to live differently. This is why the process feels immense, because it is. You're not just healing a life, you're transforming a lineage. But true integration demands something many women have been conditioned to fear: the embrace of the shadow. Jung used this term to describe all the aspects of ourselves that have been denied, condemned, or buried in the unconscious. For women, the shadow often holds the very qualities that would make them powerful: anger, ambition, sexual autonomy, self-interest, and the unapologetic ability to say no. These traits were never flaws. They were exiled because they threatened your belonging, your lovability, your perceived safety in a culture that rewards compliance and punishes authenticity. Yet these so-called dark qualities are essential sources of vitality and authority. The woman stepping into her power no longer hides them. She reclaims them, brings them into the light of consciousness, and allows them to shape her presence. She learns that boundaries are not cruelty, that desire is not shameful, and that ambition is not arrogance. It is life asserting itself through her. This is why powerful women unsettle people, not because they are domineering or harsh, but because they are whole. They embody both light and shadow, compassion and fire, grace and defiance. Their very existence disrupts the collective illusion that to be accepted, one must remain small. Such women no longer perform, they embody. They move through the world unmasked, reminding everyone still clinging to approval that there is a deeper form of freedom waiting, one that begins where pretending ends. You become a mirror, And mirrors make people uneasy, especially those who are still running from their own reflection. One of the most profound deaths in this inner evolution is the death of the need for external approval, especially masculine validation. Carl Jung wrote about the father complex, the deep psychological pattern shaped by our early relationship to paternal authority. For many women, it takes the form of a lifelong pursuit of male approval, a quiet but constant performance designed to win acceptance from an internalized masculine voice. When that complex begins to dissolve, when the father's voice inside your head loses its dominance, when you recognize that you've been performing for an invisible audience of judgment your entire life, something irreversible changes. The opinions of men, both individually and collectively, begin to lose their grip. This isn't hostility or rejection, it's indifference. And that is far more revolutionary. The freedom that comes with this detachment can be frightening at first. If you're no longer performing to be admired, who are you? If you're no longer shaping yourself to be loved, what form does your essence take? The answers don't come all at once. They emerge slowly in the silence you once feared. In that silence, you discover something radical. You possess your own authority. You carry an inner compass, a tribunal of values and standards that do not require anyone's permission to exist. This is sovereignty in the truest sense, not political, but psychological. You begin to rule the realm within you, where no one else's approval has jurisdiction. As this internal sovereignty stabilizes, life around you begins to rearrange itself. New opportunities appear with ease. People who resonate with your transformation show up uninvited. Resources align at precisely the right moments, as if orchestrated by design. Jung described this phenomenon as synchronicity, the meaningful alignment between inner transformation and external reality. When you stop living from a false persona and start moving from your authentic center, the outer world reflects that coherence. This isn't manifestation in the pop spiritual sense, nor is it magical thinking.
It's simply the natural result of energetic integrity. When you stop sending out conflicting signals, confusion, self-doubt, and contradiction, the world stops mirroring those distortions back to you. Your sexual energy also transforms, though not in the way popular culture imagines. This isn't about seduction or appearance. It's about the return of erotic energy as creative life force, the same principle known to ancient mystics and explored by Jung through his studies of alchemy and Eastern philosophy. In this deeper sense, sexuality is not separate from creativity or spirituality. It is their foundation. It's the raw generative power that sustains existence itself. When a woman reclaims this energy, not as a tool to attract or please, but as her innate birthright, she becomes truly magnetic. Not because she seeks attention, but because she embodies the very current of creation. This is the distinction between performing sexuality and being erotic energy itself.
And yet, the final initiation of this transformation comes through profound solitude. Not the loneliness of social isolation, but the sacred solitude of being fully alone with yourself in ways you never have been before. The summit of feminine power unfolds without witnesses. No one sees the moment of your inner coronation. No applause accompanies your self-recognition. No one validates the transition from seeking approval to simply being. Jung understood this truth deeply. Authentic individuation is a solitary journey. It carries you beyond collective ideals, beyond societal confirmation,
into a private landscape that belongs only to you, where at last you become both the mirror and the light within it. The woman who has completed this inner journey no longer needs to be seen in order to know she exists. Her identity no longer depends on the reflection of others. Yet this is precisely where the final temptation arises, the pull of the old life. It calls you back with its promises of comfort, familiarity, and the seductive ease of what's known. People around you may subtly encourage regression. They'll say, "You've changed," hoping you'll take it as criticism rather than confirmation. They may insist they only want what's best for you. But what they truly fear is the change your transformation mirrors back to them. Your growth exposes what they have not yet faced. The real question becomes, can you remain faithful to what you've discovered? Or will you trade your authenticity for the approval of others? This is the ultimate test of sovereignty. The choice to keep moving forward, even when turning back would be easier. How can you tell whether what you feel is genuine intuition or simply fear disguised as caution? Jung offered a way to discern it. Examine the quality of the energy. Fear constricts. It makes you smaller, tenser, more defensive. Intuition, even when leading you toward something difficult, expands your awareness. It carries a quiet sense of alignment, an undercurrent of rightness, a subtle movement toward wholeness. Fear wants you to guard against imaginary futures. Intuition invites you to trust a deeper knowing that doesn't require logic to validate it. The difference between the two becomes clearer the more you listen to the still, grounded voice beneath the anxious noise. At the heart of Jung's lifelong work lies the transformation of suffering into wisdom, what he called the opus, or the great work. This process, like alchemy, turns the raw material of pain into psychological gold. Every heartbreak, every loss, every betrayal, every period of confusion carries within it the seed of consciousness. But this potential only becomes real when you're willing to stay present with your pain, to study it, understand its archetypal meaning, and draw insight from it. Women who step fully into their power don't deny suffering or pretend it never happened. They digest it, transmute it from trauma into teaching, from wounding into wisdom. That is why they move through the world with such gravity and depth. They have descended into the underworld of the psyche and returned carrying light. And then comes the final revelation, both liberating and humbling. You didn't become powerful. You always were. The process of individuation doesn't create a new self. It uncovers the one that was there all along, buried beneath layers of fear, conditioning, and adaptation. Your essence was never lost, only obscured. What's unfolding now is not a transformation into something new, but a remembrance of what has always been true. This is the meaning of the return home that echoes through myths and spiritual traditions across the world. The return isn't to a place, it's to yourself. The peace that arises from this recognition is unlike any happiness you've known before. It doesn't depend on circumstances or approval. It doesn't fade when the world turns away. It's the quiet knowing that you have finally come home to the self that was waiting for you all along. It exists before events, beneath emotions, and beyond the turbulence of everyday life. Carl Jung called this the experience of the self, the deeper, unchanging center of the psyche that remains steady no matter what happens to the ego. When you touch this inner ground, everything changes, and yet nothing does. Life still presents challenges, losses, and uncertainty.
But beneath it all, there is now a foundation that cannot be shaken because it isn't built. It simply is. And for the first time, you recognize it as your true home. This message didn't find you as a coincidence or as a call to action. It found you as confirmation of something already unfolding. The universe doesn't persuade, it reflects. If these words resonate, it's because you are already walking the path, already dissolving old identities, already being reshaped by forces your conscious mind only partly understands. The question now isn't whether the process is reality. It's whether you will trust it.
Will you allow the false self to die? Or will you cling to its remains out of fear? Will you honor the power awakening within you, or retreat into the familiarity of who you once were? Awakening carries responsibility. Once consciousness expands, you become, whether you intend to or not, mirror that reflects truth into the world. Your very presence disturbs illusions. You stop performing, and in doing so reveal the performances of others. People still identified with their masks may find you uncomfortable, not because of what you do, but because your integration exposes their fragmentation. You become a living question to those around you. If she can stop pretending, why can't I? This is the burden and the beauty of consciousness. Once you see, you cannot unsee. Your awareness ripples outward, influencing both the visible and invisible realms. At this stage, the loneliness deepens. It is not a problem to fix, but a feature of awakening itself. Full individuation, the realization of psychological wholeness, creates a kind of orphaning from collective belonging. You no longer fit neatly into social categories, tribes, or belief systems. You can move among them, relate to many kinds of people, yet you remain inwardly autonomous. Jung called this the loneliness of the individuated self, the natural price of consciousness. Not everyone ascends to this altitude. Those who do find fewer companions, because the air grows thinner here. But there's also freedom in this solitude. You're released from the compulsive need to belong in ways that require self-betrayal. You learn to stand alone without feeling incomplete. Your identity no longer depends on status, relationship, or validation. You exist as yourself, for yourself, through yourself. And paradoxically, this independence opens the door to deeper connection. When you no longer need others to complete you, you can meet them with authenticity rather than agenda. Real intimacy becomes possible only between whole beings. Your legacy won't be measured by what you accumulate or accomplish in worldly terms. It will live in the energetic imprint of your journey, the invisible resonance of your integration. Every woman who reclaims her shadow, her voice, her sovereignty, contributes to the healing of the collective feminine psyche. Jung understood that all minds are interconnected at deep levels, that individual transformation subtly reshapes the collective field. When one woman liberates herself from internalized patterns of diminishment, she makes it fractionally easier for countless others to do the same. You may never meet them. They may live decades from now, on the other side of the world, in different circumstances entirely. Yet the ripples of your inner work travel through the shared waters of consciousness, touching lives you will never know. This is why your transformation doesn't need an audience or applause. The work is sacred in itself. Your wholeness, your refusal to self-abandon, your fidelity to truth, all of these are contributions to the evolving intelligence of humanity. You are not only saving yourself, you are participating in an unfolding story of evolution toward greater awareness, a movement that began long before you and will continue long after. Your life is your offering to that continuum.
The value of that offering depends entirely on your loyalty to your own truth. If these words have named something inside you, if they have helped you see that what feels like personal crisis is, in fact, archetypal transformations, share them with another woman who stands at the same edge. Leave a trace of your experience, not for recognition, but for the one who will find it months from now and realize she isn't breaking down. She's breaking open. This is how we hold one another through the dissolution, by making it shared, not easy. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are not lost. You are entering the most powerful stage of your life, the one where everything false collapses so that everything true can finally breathe. Trust the unraveling. Trust the emptiness that frightens you. It is not void, but creation in progress. The woman you are becoming already exists beneath the ruins of who you thought you had to be. Welcome her, honor her, and most importantly, be her.